have, with us our guest for tonight, Mr. Hany Abou El Fotouh, who is financial expert, economic and financial experts. As we talked, welcome, sir, with us. It's always a pleasure having you.
Pleasure.
Well, I just give an introduction for what's important is what we are celebrating this week, the 8th anniversary of the 30th of June Revolution, and we're going to delve into this and all the aspects concerning that. But first, we're going for a short break. After which we'll be back again. Stay tuned to us. Don't go away. We're coming back in a moment. Welcome back again to My News Business with our guest, Mr. Hany Abou El Fotouh, financial and economic expert. Welcome, sir, again with us.
Hello.
Hello. The highlight, of the week, the 8th anniversary, actually the Monday, the 8th anniversary of the June 30th revolution that is unique in its all aspects. And how do you see the status of the Egyptian economy compared to what it was the pre-revolution era?
Well, let me first congratulate all Egyptians on the 8th anniversary of the 30th June revolutions, without which Egypt will not have been as we see today.
Yeah.
Egypt
and also starting with the tourism, for example, the good news of tourism that we just mentioned.
Yeah, in order to appreciate where do we stand today, we need to talk about what was the situation before the revolution. As everybody knows that Egypt was going in the wrong way, under the wrong regime. Those who were in charge at that time, the Muslim Brotherhood and their alliances, took Egypt to a very dark venue, and thank goodness that Egypt was revived again with the revolution. Everybody understands that we were in a very drastic situation before the revolution, and if we talk about the economy at that time, the situation at that time, we need to refer to figures, and I prepared a little homework in order to make life easy for everyone to understand and compare and understand what was the situation and where do we stand now. For example, if we talk about the growth of the economy, before the revolution, Egypt achieved very low rate of growth, approximately below 2%, which is actually a very low growth rate. And if we compare it to the growth rate of the population, 2% means that the Egyptian people, if continued to maintain this low rate, we would have lived the poverty and even below the poverty line. So the GDP now, with the growth rate accelerated to 5.6% in the fiscal year 1920, before the crisis, and even in the fourth quarter of the fiscal year 2021, the growth rate reached 2.9%, which compared to the situation, the global economic crisis, Egypt is, I think, is doing very good in this respect. Also, the poor infrastructure and development projects were not properly handled, and everybody remembers the drastic situation of the shortage of fuel, the disconnect, the electricity,
the repetitive outages.
Yes, the outage, the electricity outage, frequent outage of the electricity. These were nightmare to all Egyptians at that time. Also, another aspect is the budget deficit, which was at 12% in the fiscal year 13 and 14, and now it stands at 7.8% in the year 2021. The primary budget deficit also, thank goodness, is now we have a primary budget surplus, 1.1%. And in order to avoid jargon, I would like to explain what is,
as opposed to the shortage actually that we had.
The budget surplus means when the current spending of the government is less than the revenue, excluding the tax, it is said that the government has a primary budget surplus. So we have now 1.1% primary budget surplus, as opposed or compared to 3.5% in the fiscal year 14-15. Also, the unemployment rate now stands at 7.2%. If we compare it to the fiscal year 14 and 15, it reached nearly 13.3%. So despite also 7.2%, I mean, despite the global economic crisis, it's still slightly high, but in comparison to other economies, I think this is a fair representation of the good results and achievements that the government is achieving.
Yeah.
If you remember the inflation rate in the year 2017, it reached nearly 22%, and that's was a bit high at before or at the beginning of achieving or implementing the economic reform program, and with the shock, the economic shock after the the floating of the pound, the inflation rate reached nearly 33-34%. Now, if we are comparing where we were in year 2016 and 17 and before and now, the inflation rate stands at 4.8% in June this year. Also, we need to compare the expenditure on the public services like the health and education. Now it was 115 billion pounds in year 2014, and currently it stands at 663 billion pounds in the fiscal year 21-22. We must not forget that the economic reform programs, without which Egypt wouldn't have been in this good situation, the government had to spend a lot on subsidies.
Yeah.
Not cutting the subsidies as
Totally,
wrongly
exactly.
expressed, but rationalizing the subsidies. The subsidies allocations were 198 billion pounds in the fiscal year 14 and 15, and currently stands at 321 billion pounds in the fiscal year 21-22. Lastly, the foreign exchange reserves in year 2013 we're in a very bad situation, very bad level, nearly 13 billion pounds. And now, despite everything, despite the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic, the implications on or the pressure on the foreign exchange, now the foreign exchange reserves is maintained at 40 billion pounds, which has been increasing for the 11th month in a row. So if we compare all these figures before this revolution and immediately after the revolution and the situation now, the comparison is clear that we have achieved a lot.
Yeah.
We have achieved many many good results. And one important note I would like to make here, that the revolution, when it took place in the year 2013, the economic reforms and the results did not take place right away.
Definitely.
But the first of all, priorities had to be rearranged, because
Yes.
the first priority at that time was to maintain the political stability and the security stability, because without these two major pillars, no reforms would have been possible. It took us maybe 2 to 3 years in order to maintain the political and security stability.
Definitely, definitely. There was hard work, and still, hard work is being done. Actually, when we were discussing that when this happened, we were thinking, should we just, go about the projects, like one by one, or every sector one by one? But there is no time for that. So, we're doing it all at a time, at the same time, simultaneously, like a revolution in everything, in every aspect of life, in order to reach not only what we were at before, but then to surpass it and realize the aspirations of Egyptians, the place we should be really in, instead of the place we were forced to be, like going back in everything, that was really very painful. Also, you wanted to mention the tourism coming back, the Russian flights coming back to Egypt, and overturning a decision that, for those charter flights coming back, and, like, as I said, some, Hurghada, especially in Sharm el-Sheikh, are very important place for the Russians, like colonies, here and there, you find a lot of Russians. Also, going to the new cities, and, of course, the North Coast and the new cities there, but, to the old places that they're used to and they love.
I'd like just to recall the revenues from the tourism just before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Egypt achieved around 11 or 12 billion dollars, which were the same levels of revenues in year 2010 and 11.
Yeah.
And of course, with the drastic impact of the coronavirus, all that has gone. But the good news, as you just said, the good news is the resumption of flights, the charter flights between Russia and the destinations of the Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada, where official estimates tell us that, or inform that it is the Russian tourism represent around 30% of all tourism movement in these areas, which is a lot. So with this good news, I think the future is more brighter. Until the end of this year, we will witness, inshallah, good results or good revenues from tourism sector.
Definitely. Well, we'll go for a short break, after which we'll be back. We'll resume again our talk, what we were, what happened to us in 2012 and 2013, and where we are right now, the different aspects of life. Stay tuned to us, don't go away. Well, the 30th of July, the 30th of June, actually, that was the 3rd of July, fighting terrorism. But 30th of June was, a very important stop for everything, and just a change in everything in Egypt, from, hitting rock bottom to just a quantum leap, actually, starting that date. Everybody was in the street in Egypt, calling for a revolution, calling for the stop of the, the kicking out of the Muslim Brotherhood and their own rule. And for that, was a very important landmark. President Sisi himself said it's unique. This revolution is a unique example of popular revolutions in history. That is a unique one in history. How do you see this, the 30th June, how is it successful? How is it unique?
Well, I think it is unique in many ways, because if you recall the pictures and the sentiments of people who were in the streets, okay,
I recall as if
they
now,
were not youth, because generally speaking, revolutions rely on young people going in groups, shouting, raising slogans. But what happened in this revolution, which makes it the Egyptian people's revolution, is that it was made by everybody. even by what is called the couch party.
Yeah, we are the couch party. We were watching youth, doing that.
Mom and dad
Exactly.
and aunt and elderly people. We were all in the streets.
Yeah.
In the streets, screaming loudly that and asking the military to take the lead
Yes.
and kick the Muslim Brotherhood who pushed us into a dark venue.
Yeah.
So it's unique because it's everybody's revolution, not the youth, not the young people. It's elderly people. Everyone was in where many people of different groups, different backgrounds, different ages were in the streets.
Having a say in the future of the country. We
Yes.
wanted to stay in part, like our country. Just
That
going
was
there.
not. We lived dark ages.
Yeah.
They wanted to drag Egypt to dark ages, to a regime where power, they will hold power for at least 50 years ahead. No democracy, no expression of thoughts, no liberation, nothing at all, but only suppression and one-way regime, one-way thinking. So
Exactly.
it's unique because everyone was very enthusiastic about regaining Egypt again, getting the civilized Egypt
Yeah.
back into the venue the same way it was for many, many years back.
Yes. Also, like when you had like CNN writing and getting the picture, like 30 million Egyptians in the streets, all at once in all governorates in order to regain the countries back. Those who are really keen on going down, as much of the streets could take, with all the people in the streets trying to get back their country and not relinquish it to the Muslim Brotherhood that, as you said, taking us to the dark ages and making the country hit rock bottom at that time and refusing any going forward. We were going backwards. So that stopped with this, 30th of June. The people had their say, and that's the end of it. We started from there with that time.
People said enough is enough.
Yeah.
Okay, you cannot take us back to the old ages.
With the constitution also, we refused that.
You cannot fake the Egyptian streets' will.
Yeah.
That was expressed very clearly and loudly to the outer world.
Yeah. Also, the president also noted that he is racing against time. He said it so many times, going very fast on everything. There is no time. We have to just go ahead and realize the quantum need in order to achieve the long-awaited aspirations of the Egyptian people. What's your take on that? How do you see this statement? And what's, all the work done and is being done with that saying as a proof?
Egypt has its 2030 vision.
Yeah.
And it plans ahead for many years to fulfill the aspiration of the Egyptian people. Since the President Sisi took office in the first presidency and the second term, and his second term will end in year 2022.
Yeah.
There are many things yet to be done.
Definitely.
If we look at the number of projects in hand which are being developed, more than, I can't remember the exact number, but more than 18,000 national projects. I think more than this number. They are being executed, and initiatives.
Yeah.
They need more time until the final implementation. That's why the president said he is racing time, because all these projects must be completed because they fulfill the aspiration of the Egyptian people.
And they need a lot of money,
and the Egyptian people,
Yeah.
they needed this, or they deserve all these achievements for the long-awaited projects, the long-awaited initiatives yet to be completed. That's why the president is racing time.
And the needed, when you find those people sitting on cafe in a cafe, or sitting in the air conditioning and playing with the computers and saying, well, this is not done right, we should be doing this, we should be doing that. And when you look at this and, oh, well, we need food, and there is a lot of work on that. We did not even feel during the COVID-19 and all the very hard times, we did not feel the lack of anything. No education, and making fun of online education, which proved to be very important in this situation.
That happens with education, particularly.
Yeah.
It happened coincidentally today when on the social media people are attacking the minister because of the Thanawi, the high school exams were difficult. In fact, the exams were not difficult, but
and the health minister,
possibly the students did not have time to study, but they were allocating much time to social media.
Yeah.
To surfing the net. And I'm shocked. I'm furious about the shouts, the slogans, those who think that they can run
the country better,
than the current the present officials. Okay, it's not that easy, and I mean, had it been easy, it would have been easier for the other governments to do it. But
definitely.
Now we are fighting. The government is fighting, and this is not for the current government. I mean, even for the future governments.
Yeah.
The challenges are many, and it's not
Imagine
easy.
you have 100 million people in the country. As a friend stated it, if you are a parent and you have one child, it's very hard. When you have a president, you have to cater to 100 million.
They need education, they need health care, they need universities, they need public services. Infrastructure. It is not that easy, and that's why, back again to the statement of Abdel Fattah, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, he is racing time to achieve the long-awaited projects, and the outcome should be very evident to everybody. And
Yeah.
I hope that everybody should be happy by that.
Well,
but not planning.
Keep talking about
not planning the government on everything on the cafe.
Definitely planning everything on a cafe or on Facebook and thinking he's giving
behind
great
the keyboard.
Yeah, this is the most important thing, not being in real life. Well, also talking about initiatives, we have 100 million health, 100 million صحة, and then also we have the very important one, Haya Karima, decent life initiative for everybody, especially the places that were marginalized, like Upper Egypt, the countryside, and all that now are becoming the focus of the government, really working hard on these to just give them the decent life that they deserve, and correct everything that was kind of neglected before. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi called on also civil society organizations to take part in the initiative for the countryside, focus decent life, Haya Karima initiative, to work on the development of the initiative's first 1,500 villages, which is not like a small number. It's a lot. The started on January 2021 with a budget of 200 billion Egyptian pounds, and due to be completed by the end of the fiscal year 2021-2022, which is a lot of work actually done. How do you see that, especially that with the countryside, that the focused initiative of decent life and the countryside needs a lot of work, in all aspects of life, in order to be at the standard that everybody wishes and the president wishes to see?
Well, I believe that the Decent Life Initiative is one of the most important national projects, because it touches more than 58% of the Egyptian citizens. It's, as you said, it started in 2019, and it will the first phase of the initiative focus on 1,500 villages, and it is estimated that it
We have
will.
1 minute left, so let's.
It is estimated that it will cover 4,500 villages, and the allocations, the financial allocations for this initiative has increased recently to 700 billion pounds. Because it will not only focus on improving the public services in the rural areas, but also will focus on training and creating jobs for women and young people in villages and improve their lives.
Yeah, we ran out of time, but one question that is the last question. The inauguration of the military base near the Libyan border, what message does it give to the world?
The opening of the naval base sends a very strong message that Egypt is strong. Egypt is building, on one hand, Egypt is building its economy, its future, and on the other hand, Egypt is protecting its economic interests and borders, and protecting, the army is protecting Egypt from all threats. So we are not only busy with building the future, we are also busy with protecting ourselves and the economic interests.
Mr. Hany Abou El Fotouh, long live Egypt. تحيا مصر.
Thank you.
And always a pleasure having you. We see you again, as we move along, and with the development day by day, actually, and week on week, we will just, be on, with, you and, finding out what happened and giving it to the people. Thank you for being there.